Chapter 53-57. Xiao Soa didn't know how much time had passed. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang became a second-grade inscriptionist, she knew that she had lost again. She had lost completely. As Bailey Hongzhuang passed the exam again and again, she was no longer slapped in the face, but rather her face had been slapped swollen. Wasn't it said that it was easy to make mistakes in the process of drawing inscriptions? Even if the inscriptionists had reached a certain level, there was a possibility of failure when drawing inscriptions. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had drawn so many inscriptions and she hadn't failed even once. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was destined to be the winner even if she failed, at least it would make her feel better. However, she didn't even give her the chance. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't continue until she passed the 6th grade inscriptionist test. In fact, no 6th grade inscriptionists planned to take the 7th grade inscriptionist test today. Seeing this scene, everyone was relieved. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't plan to take the 9th grade inscriptionist test in one go. All the rules seemed to have changed when it came to Bailey Hongzhuang. As Bailey Hongzhuang walked down the stage, Shengguan Yingying went up to her and smiled. "Hongzhuang, you finally finished the test. I'll take the test next time. Otherwise, I'm afraid that some people won't be able to take it. It won't be good if they faint." Shengguan Yingying's voice was as pleasant as the sound of nature, but anyone could hear that she was mocking Xiao Soa. In the next second, Bailey Hongzhuang turned her head and looked at Xiao Soa, who had a pale face. She curled her lips into an extremely bright and evil smile. "Xiao Soa, my results are worthy of your painstaking promotion, right?" Her sharp gaze swept across Guan Qian, Jun Lingxuan and finally landed on Xiao Soa's face. The thick ridicule made Xiao Soa and the other two infuriated. Their blood almost rushed to their heads. Recalling Bailey Hongzhuang's words, they really wanted to say that Bailey Hongzhuang had the ability to continue the test. They didn't believe that she really had such ability. However, when they thought of Bailey Hongzhuang's trick, they chose to remain silent. If Bailey Hongzhuang really became a 7th grade inscriptionist, how could they live? Therefore, Xiao Soa could only clench her teeth and swallow the words that she wanted to say back into her stomach. The previous rumors were true. Bailey Hongzhuang. To be able to become a 6th grade inscriptionist at her age, her innate talent in this area is already very shocking. Xiao Soa has really lost a lot of face this time. I feel that her face hurts. Everyone sighed. Originally, Xiao Soa was about to become the Holy Maiden of the Light and could be said to be limitless glory. However, she had to plot against Bailey Hongzhuang at this time. In the end, she created such a mess and even threw herself into it. In a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang's limelight was unparalleled. Even Xiao Soa's limelight of becoming the Holy Maiden of the Light seemed to have been overshadowed by her. The inscriptionist test came to an end just like that. Everyone left with a heart full of sighs. Jun Hongcheng and Xiao Yanlong naturally left at the first moment. In fact, ever since Bailey Hongzhuang's first successful inscription, they were already sitting on pins and needles. It was only because of their face that they couldn't leave. Now that it had finally ended, if they still didn't leave, could it be that they were waiting for Diyu Jue to ridicule them? Chapter 53-58. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest returned to their lodgings, everyone's faces were filled with pride. "We've only just arrived at Piercing Wind City today and we've already witnessed Hongzhuang winning such a huge victory. This is really worth celebrating." Di Xiaofeng's face was full of smiles. "Luckily we've come to Piercing Wind City today. Otherwise, we would have missed out on such a good show." Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, the cultivators of the Di family all agreed. Today is really satisfying. The Jun family and the Xiao family have been trying to make us unhappy ever since they've joined forces. Today, we finally let them know that it's no big deal even if we cut off all ties with them. In my opinion, Xiao Soa can't even be compared to Hongzhuang. Once these words were spoken, everyone resonated with them. On this point, their thoughts were surprisingly consistent. Xiao Soa can't even be compared to Bailey Hongzhuang. No matter how one looked at it, this was the case. Diyu Jue saw that everyone's impression of Bailey Hongzhuang was so good, and there was a trace of a smile in his eyes. If it were anyone else, it would have been difficult to gain everyone's approval based on their status. However, his daughter-in-law was obviously not an ordinary person, and this was all due to her own efforts. Compared to the D family's current complacency, the Jun family and the Xiao family were covered in dark clouds. As the Jun family and the Xiao family had already confirmed their marriage, the Jun family had directly stayed at the Xiao family's residence when they arrived at Piercing Wind City. Along the way, everyone's face was gloomy and they didn't say a word. It was only when they reached their home that they gathered together. Bailey Hongzhuang is really too hateful. Just look at what she said today. I'm going to die from anger. After entering the house, Xiao Suo could no longer maintain her composure as she stomped her feet in anger. Just thinking about it made her feel like she was going to explode from anger, and she felt humiliated. As the holy maiden of the light sect, she had never been treated like this. Xiao Yanlong looked at Xiao Suo, who could no longer hold back her emotions, and said in a deep voice, "You have indeed not understood this matter clearly, allowing them to take advantage of the loophole. After today's incident, no one will be able to suppress Bailey Hongzhuang's limelight for the time being." Jun Hongcheng's expression was grave. This was not good news for them. Originally, they thought that they could firmly suppress the D family this time, but now, they were being held back by the other party. We didn't expect this either. No one had ever said that Bailey Hongzhuang was talented in this area. Jun Lingshuan frowned. Before this, they had never heard of Bailey Hongzhuang's ability in this area. Even the people they had arranged in the D family had never told them about this. Compared to Guan Qian's words, he actually believed the news from this person's mouth more. Since he did not say anything, it must mean that he did not. Who would have thought that things would turn out this way? Hearing Jun Lingshuan's words, Jun Hongqing naturally understood what he meant. It seems that this Bailey Hongzhuang has hidden her abilities very well, even in the D family. Perhaps she has always kept a low profile, but it is also possible that she is deliberately guarding against someone. Xiao Yanlong and Xiao Suo were completely unaware of the hidden meaning in their words. They were completely focused on this outcome. In a few days, my succession ceremony will be held. I'll let Bailey Hongzhuang be proud for a while. When the time comes, her limelight will not be able to compare to mine. Chapter 53-59. This was because even though Bailey Hongzhuang was a genius inscription master, she was not the only inscription master in the Inscription Association. However, there was only one sacred lady of the light. In this aspect, Bailey Hongzhuang could not be compared to her at all. Hearing Xiao Suo's words, Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongqing looked at each other. That was the only thing they could do at the moment. A person's memory was very short. As long as a new piece of news was received, everyone would gradually forget about what had happened in the past. No matter how outstanding Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was today, everyone's focus would shift once Xiao Suo had succeeded as the sacred lady of the light. You must be more careful when you do things in the future. You can't make this kind of mistake again. Xiao Yanlong reminded. Xiao Suo nodded, and there was a trace of guilt in her expression. If it weren't for the fact that they hadn't inquired about the matter clearly before making a solemn vow, the two fathers wouldn't have accompanied them to Lu's face today. "Father, I'll be more careful in the future." "Me too." Jun Lingshuan chimed in as well. Looking at the apologetic looks on their faces, the gloominess in Xiao Yanlong and Jun Hongcheng's hearts dissipated a little. In the face of their favorite child, even if she had made a huge mistake, they could not bear to be too harsh on her. Not long after Bailey Hongzhuang returned to her residence, she received an invitation from Guan Jingshan to go to the Inscription Association for a chat the next day. "Master, that Guan Qian is obviously working with Xiao Suo to trick you. Now that his grandfather has invited you over, there won't be any problems, right?" Even though Xiao Suo and the others did not manage to gain any advantage, Xiao He could not help but be filled with resentment when she thought about how Guan Qian had actually joined forces with Xiao Suo. Don't worry, Great Master Guan had no idea about this at all. Besides, based on his attitude, he's clearly a respectable elder. The grace of a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. She would remember everything that Guan Jingshan had specially prepared for her to step down. Therefore, she had a good impression of Guan Jingshan. Today, I also noticed that Guan Qian was very guilty when he faced Master Guan. Presumably, Master Guan had already taught him a lesson when he went back. He probably asked you to go tomorrow to make Guan Qian apologize to you. Bewitching smiled faintly. Previously, his father had also discussed this with him. Clearly, Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai were people who had the guild's best interests at heart, so they definitely wouldn't play any tricks in this matter. In fact, everything was just as Bewitching had guessed. After Guan Jingshan returned, he called Guan Qian over and asked him to explain everything that had happened. Guan Qian was already very afraid of Guan Jingshan. Now, under Guan Jingshan's intimidation and interrogation, how could he dare to lie? Immediately, he told her everything in detail. You're saying that Bailey Hongzhuang came to our guild to read the books in the library? When Guan Jingshan heard this, he was also a little surprised. The books in the library did not have many records about inscription techniques. On the contrary, most of them recorded the development of inscription techniques until now. It was precisely because of this that not many people went to the library on a daily basis. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at the Inscription Masters Guild at the agreed time. She had never thought of rejecting Guan Jingshan's invitation from the beginning to the end. Moreover, she believed that she would definitely gain a lot from chatting with this great master. Chapter 5360. When the attendants of the Inscription Association saw Bailey Hongzhuang again, they no longer had the disdain they had before. On the contrary, they were respectful, afraid that they would neglect Bailey Hongzhuang. Thinking back to the disdain they had for Bailey Hongzhuang, they felt that it was too embarrassing. This was the true example of an expert hiding his strength and not revealing his true strength. Bailey Hongzhuang did not have any plans to fuss over this. Under the guidance of the attendants, she arrived outside Guan Jingshan's house. Miss Bailey, Master Guan is already waiting for you. At the same time, President Lu and Guan Qian from the Alchemist Association are also waiting for you. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head slightly and expressed her thanks before knocking on the door. Please come in. Guan Jingshan's kind and mellow voice rang out. Bailey Hongzhuang pushed open the door and entered. As expected, she saw Guan Jingshan and the others. Inscription Master Bailey, you're here. Guan Jingshan smiled. Please take a seat. Greetings to President Lu and Master Guan. Bailey Hongzhuang bowed. These two were her elders, so she had to be courteous. In terms of status, Lu Yuhai was the president of the Alchemist Association while Guan Jingshan was only a master of the Piercing Wind City's Inscription Association. There was still a difference between their statuses. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's humble and courteous manner, the admiration in Lu Yuhai and Guan Jingshan's eyes became even stronger. How could they not like such a talented and courteous junior? Inscription Master Bailey, now that we know each other, I'll just call you Hongzhuang. How about that? Guan Jingshan smiled and said. Naturally, there's no problem. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. I've already figured out what happened yesterday. It's all because my stinking brat was disobedient and caused such trouble. Guan Jingshan's smile revealed a trace of guilt. He then scolded Guan Qian, why aren't you apologizing? Guan Qian walked in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. His young face was filled with shame and awkwardness. No matter what, he was still a dignified man. Now, he had to apologize to a woman. Although this matter was indeed his fault, he still couldn't say it out loud. Everything that happened before was my fault. I hope you can forgive me. Guan Qian struggled to speak. Looking at Guan Qian's unwilling appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood that this guy was completely forced by Guan Jingshan's tyranny to apologize to her. However, she did not take this matter to heart in the first place. Even if Guan Qian did not participate in this matter, Xiao So would still think of ways to deal with her. On the contrary, because of Guan Qian's participation, she was able to humiliate Xiao So. Guan Qian had played a part in this. Don't worry about it, young Master Guan. I didn't take it to heart. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Hearing this, Guan Qian, who had his head lowered, was a little surprised. When he raised his head, he noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's extremely bright smile. His expression froze, and his cheeks actually blushed for no reason. Bailey Hongzhuang took a closer look. Only then did she realize that this Guan Qian had fair skin. He was actually a beautiful young man who was even more beautiful than a woman. After apologizing, Guan Qian said in a muffled voice, "Grandfather, I'll take my leave first." Seeing this, Guan Jingshan also knew that Guan Qian wanted to leave because he was embarrassed, so he did not refuse. This guy still had the temperament of a young man. He had not truly grown up. It was already not easy for him to apologize. "Hongzhuang, I heard that you came to the association first to look at the books in the library?" Guan Jingshan asked. Chapter 5361. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and admitted with a smile. Guan Jingshan was a little puzzled. "With your inscription technique, I'm afraid the books in the library aren't useful to you." At Bailey Hongzhuang's level, she should already know the contents of the books in the library. This reason didn't make sense. "If you want to take a look, you can take a look at it any time now." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and waved her hand. "To be honest, the reason why I want to take a look at the library is because I came from the lower realm. The inscription technique is also learned in the lower realm. I don't know much about the inscription technique in the upper realm. Originally, I came to the guild to find out more about it through meeting you. But after I came, I knew that you were very busy and it wouldn't be easy for you to find time to meet me. So, I wanted to take a look at the library. Now, after yesterday's assessment, I have a rough understanding of it." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai finally understood. Everyone knew that Bailey Hongzhuang came from the lower realm. Previously, they thought for a long time but couldn't understand this problem. After Bailey Hongzhuang explained, the reason was actually so simple. "I see." Guan Jingshan smiled. "If you want to know more about the inscription technique in the upper realm, I can tell you." "Then I'll have to trouble Senior." "It's no trouble. Even if it's an apology for what Guan Qian did, it's something that should be done." Immediately afterward, Guan Jingshan gave a general introduction of the development of the inscription technique in the upper realm. He also answered the questions raised by Bailey Hongzhuang in detail, so that the doubts in Bailey Hongzhuang's heart were all dispelled. Lu Yuhai sat at the side and said a few words from time to time. He didn't feel bored at all. "Thank you, Senior, for your guidance. This junior has benefited a lot." Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands and a happy and grateful smile appeared on her fair and beautiful face. This conversation was indeed of great help to her. Now, she had a better understanding of the inscription technique in the upper realm. It seemed like her judgment was right. The Chaos Ring was really a first-rate divine artifact. Even after ascending to the upper realm, he did not show the slightest bit of weakness. Actually, her inscription technique had always been learned in the Chaos Ring. So far, she hadn't met many inscription masters, so she didn't interact much. Sometimes, she couldn't even judge what level her inscription technique belonged to. But now, she understood that her inscription technique was equally outstanding even in the upper realm. This understanding undoubtedly made her extremely happy. Guan Jingshan was also very surprised by Bailey Hongzhuang's level. He had thought that there was a big gap between the lower realm's inscription technique and the upper realm's inscription technique, but he simply could not see this from Bailey Hongzhuang's inscription technique. During this exchange, he had also asked Bailey Hongzhuang some questions, so he wanted to understand Bailey Hongzhuang's true level. He even came up with some difficult questions to test Bailey Hongzhuang. Who would have thought that all these problems would be solved so easily in front of Bailey Hongzhuang? One had to know that even Guan Qian would have to ponder over these questions for a while. Chapter 5362. Regarding this point, both Guan Jingshan and Lu Yuhai sighed in their hearts. This was because Bailey Hongzhuang was not only outstanding in inscription technique, but also in alchemy. She was not inferior to any alchemist in the upper realm. Looking at the two sides, Bailey Hongzhuang did not deny it. Although the cultivators in the lower realm were not as strong as the upper realm, it was still the place where she had lived for many years. She had deep feelings for that place. Moreover, in her opinion, the reason why the cultivators in the lower realm were not as strong as the upper realm was because of the huge difference in cultivation resources between the two realms. If the lower realm also had such cultivation resources, its development would definitely not be weaker than the upper realm. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were chatting happily, a figure suddenly rushed into the room. Guan Jingshan, I have tried many times, but I can't draw this 7th level vibration rune successfully. I also don't know where the problem is. I have clearly prepared according to the materials recorded, but I don't know why there is a problem. I feel that it is not a problem when I draw it, but there is a problem with the inscription fluid itself. In his line of sight, he saw a woman wearing a green robe. Her age was similar to Guan Jingshan's, and her weathered face was filled with anxiety and impatience. It was as if she had not found an outlet to vent before, and as soon as she met Guan Jingshan, she completely exploded. Wang Xiangyu, can't you knock on the door when you come in? Don't you know that I might have a guest here? Guan Jingshan frowned, and his face was filled with helplessness. However, he still stood up and walked to Wang Xiangyu's side. Hearing this, Wang Xiangyu noticed that Lu Yuhai and Bailey Hongzhuang were also at the side. Her eyes flashed with a trace of surprise, but she only faintly said, "Oh." Obviously, she did not feel guilty at all. "President Lu, I didn't expect you to be here too." Lu Yuhai said with a smile, "I just happened to be looking for Master Guan to talk about old times. You guys go ahead and chat." "Thank you very much." Wang Xiangyu turned her head naturally and looked at Guan Jingshan. "Tell me quickly, where could this problem of mine come from? I have thought for a long time, but I have no clue. Why did you think of studying the 7th class vibration pattern? Didn't I find an ancient book a while ago that recorded the inscription method of the 7th grade vibration pattern? So, I want to give it a try. If I can really figure it out, it will undoubtedly be of great help to our guild. It's just that I've been researching for a long time and tried all the steps that can be modified, but in the end, I still haven't figured out what the problem is. Quickly help me think about it. Then tell me the situation in detail." Hongzhuang, this is the other inscription master of the Inscription Guild, Master Wang. Lu Yuhai saw that the other two were chatting enthusiastically. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to take care of them for the time being, so he introduced them to Bailey Hongzhuang. Master Wang has always been engrossed in studying inscription patterns, so most of the time he appears in this kind of situation. If you see it more often, you won't find it strange. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled slightly. From the moment Wang Xiangyu walked in and noticed her unruly hairstyle, she had already guessed who she was. Chapter 5363. However, this kind of thing was very common among inscription masters. If there were no such inscription masters who were undistracted and devoted to research, the Inscription Association would not have developed to such a scale today. She also admired such inscription masters very much. Back then, the reason why her father's medical skills were so exquisite was also because of this. In the eyes of many people, her father was completely crazy and paranoid, but she understood that it was because of her father's seriousness and persistence. If not, her father's medical skills would not have reached such a level. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's unsurprised look, Lu Yuhai thought for a moment and laughed, "I almost forgot that you are also an inscription master." "The materials are indeed what you said, there should be no problem." Guan Jingshan looked thoughtful. He had also studied the 7th grade vibration pattern for a while. However, because he had been busy, he did not study it too deeply. Now that Wang Xiangyu mentioned it, he understood that there were so many problems. "Yes, I have done many studies on the dosage, but I still can't find the problem." Wang Xiangyu looked helpless. During this period, she had put all her energy into studying the 7th grade vibration pattern. In fact, she knew that since the 7th grade vibration pattern inscription method appeared, not only her, but many inscription masters were studying it at the same time. If she could be the first to study it, it would undoubtedly be very helpful to her reputation. This was one of the reasons why she had been working so hard recently. She did not know if other inscription masters had encountered the same situation. In short, she was extremely annoyed that she had not gained anything after studying for so long. Listening to Wang Xiangyu's various situations, Guan Jingshan could not find a clue for a while. "According to our research, there is indeed no problem with the materials, and the inscription can also be drawn. The problem must be the dosage." Guan Jingshan thought and said, "In these days, I have tried every possibility, but in the end, it still did not work. Bailey Hongzhuang at the side listened to the conversation between Guan Jingshan and Wang Xiangyu and suddenly understood. She also had some understanding of the 7th grade vibration pattern. Looking at the situation, Guan Jingshan and the others only understood the materials needed for the inscription fluid, but they were not clear about the dosage, so they fell into such a dilemma. Just when the two of them were thinking and could not figure out the problem, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice suddenly sounded. Master Wang, have you tried adding green vine juice? Hearing the sudden voice, Wang Xiangyu could not help but be stunned and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with some surprise. Previously, she only thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was a junior brought by Lu Yuhai, so she did not take it to heart. She did not expect that Bailey Hongzhuang would suddenly say such words at this moment, which meant that she was also an inscription master, and her level was not low. Otherwise, even if she was an inscription master, she wouldn't have mentioned green vine juice. You are. Wang Xiangyu pondered for a moment. Let me introduce to you, this is, of, Bailey Hongzhuang. Right? Chapter 5364. You know about it? Guan Jingshan was surprised. Wang Xiangyu nodded. Of course, what happened yesterday has spread like wildfire. Who in the entire Piercing Wind City doesn't know about it? Guan Jingshan glanced at Wang Xiangyu indifferently. His expression was obviously saying that she was such a person. Ahem. Wang Xiangyu coughed twice. I didn't expect Miss Bailey to become a 6th grade inscriptionist at such a young age. You have unlimited potential in the future. Master Wang, you flatter me. Bailey Hongzhuang stood up and cupped her hands. Wang Xiangyu then returned to the main topic. Adding green vine juice can indeed make the inscription liquid more stable. However, after I added it, the inscription liquid lost its vitality and became like a pool of stagnant water. This was the problem that troubled her the most. If she didn't add green vine juice, the inscription liquid would be too violent and unable to inscribe. However, after adding green vine juice, the inscription liquid would lose its vitality. According to her judgment, this was probably the biggest problem. However, no matter how she tried, she didn't succeed in the end. Can't you reduce the proportion of green vine juice to the maximum? Guan Jingshan asked. Based on Wang Xiangyu's question, this was the best solution. Wang Xiangyu shook her head. If this method is really effective, I would have succeeded long ago. I have already reduced the proportion to the minimum, but it still doesn't work. Hearing this, Guan Jingshan frowned. In that case, this is indeed a headache. Until now, I haven't heard of anyone from the other inscription associations drawing Kai Heng Gong. I'm afraid everyone has encountered the same problem. Lu Yuhai, who was standing to the side, looked at the frown on their faces and decided not to say anything. This kind of problem must be found at the root. Usually, when they were studying alchemy, they were also in the same situation. Looking at the two masters in deep thought, Bailey Hongzhuang's sweet voice quietly rang out. Master Wang, how about you try adding 10-year-old green vine juice? Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Wang Xiangyu and Guan Jingshan were stunned. Then, they looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a trace of surprise. That's right. Why didn't I think of this problem? Wang Xiangyu clapped her hands excitedly as if she had found a breakthrough. I was only thinking about reducing the quantity, but I forgot that I could also reduce the year. The effect of the 10-year green vine juice is naturally much weaker than the 100-year green vine juice. In this way, this problem may be solved. A smile appeared on Guan Jingshan's face. He hadn't thought of this either. As an inscription master, the materials they usually used were of the best quality. 10-year-old materials were simply not within their scope of consideration. Therefore, they were used to not thinking in this direction. After Bailey Hongzhuang's reminder, he lamented that they had never thought of such a simple problem. Hongzhuang, you've really reminded us. Guan Jingshan said happily. Wang Xiangyu also nodded repeatedly. If it's really possible, then you've really helped us a lot. I'm just saying, Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. Guan Jingshan, let me borrow your inscription room. I can't wait to try my hand at drawing. Chapter 5365. Without waiting for Guan Jingshan's consent, Wang Xiangyu directly walked into the inscription room that belonged to Guan Jingshan. From her familiarity with the place, one could tell that it wasn't the first time she had been there. Looking at Wang Xiangyu's anxious appearance, Guan Jingshan was also helpless. He turned to Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "She is such an impatient person. If she says the wind is the rain, it will rain. Get used to it." Master Wang also hopes to be able to draw the 7th grade vibration rune as soon as possible. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression showed that she understood. It seemed that these two masters were very familiar with each other. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so casual. Guan Jingshan smiled awkwardly. He had already said many times about Wang Xiangyu's temper, but it was useless. This fellow always went in one ear and out the other. It was the same whether he said it or not. "President Liu, Hongzhuang, are you interested in watching us try to draw the 7th grade vibration rune?" Guan Jingshan looked at Wang Xiangyu, who had already started to get busy in the room. He retracted his gaze and said to Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Yuhai looked at each other and then said with a smile, "Of course. It's our honor." She actually had some understanding of the 7th grade vibration rune. She had already come into contact with it when she was in the Chaos Ring. However, Guan Jingshan invited her to watch with him at this time. Obviously, he didn't treat her as an outsider. She naturally wouldn't refuse. When Bailey Hongzhuang walked into the inscription room, Wang Xiangyu had already prepared all the materials. Just from the materials that had already been ground, one could tell that Wang Xiangyu had already prepared before coming. Today, she came here to find Guan Jingshan to try to draw the 7th grade vibration rune together. Wang Xiangyu didn't find it strange when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Lu Yuhai following her in. She started to make the inscription fluid while introducing them. "Guan Jingshan, go and get some 10-year green vine. I have already ordered someone to get it." Guan Jingshan had already expected such a situation. While he was speaking, Guan Qian had already walked in. "Grandpa, here's the 10-year ivy you wanted." Guan Qian's eyes were filled with confusion as he handed the 10-year green vine to Guan Jingshan. It was as if he couldn't understand why his grandfather would want it for no reason. Generally speaking, the things his grandfather wanted were at least 100 years old. When he heard that his grandfather wanted a 10-year green vine, he was stunned for a moment, wondering if he had heard wrongly. However, after his grandfather's emphasis and affirmation, he finally understood that he did not hear wrongly. Guan Jingshan took the 10-year green vine and walked to the table. He began to grind the juice. Looking at Guan Qian, who was standing aside in a daze, he said, "We are now trying to draw the 7th grade vibration pattern. You should take a look too." Hearing this, Guan Qian was surprised. 7th grade vibration rune? He had heard his grandfather mention this inscription pattern a few days ago. This was an extremely powerful inscription pattern. However, because it had been lost for a long time, although everyone had mastered the method of drawing it, no one had succeeded yet. He didn't expect his grandfather to choose this time to study it. However, when he noticed that Wang Xiangyu had already started to add the materials to make the inscription fluid, he understood. Thinking about it, this idea must have been suggested by Wang Xiangyu first. Otherwise, his grandfather wouldn't try to draw the inscription pattern at this time. Chapter 5366. Bailey Hongzhuang knew that Guan Qian, who had just apologized to her, would feel awkward when facing her again. Thus, she only nodded her head slightly and placed her attention on Wang Xiangyu and Guan Jingshan. When she looked, she realized that the two of them had great chemistry with each other. At this moment, Wang Xiangyu was the one in charge of making the inscription fluid. Every time she needed to add a material, Guan Jingshan would take the initiative to pass the material over and Wang Xiangyu would add it in turn. The 7th grade inscription fluid required a lot of materials. Although it seemed like a simple process, in reality, there couldn't be any problems with the time, heat, and order. However, the two of them had the demeanor of a master. Their calm and composed appearance made it seem like they had been through countless trials and tribulations. Thus, when something difficult fell into their hands, it seemed like it was as simple as the clouds and wind. Although Bailey Hongzhuang had the primordial chaos ring, she already had the best teacher, but she still gained a lot from watching the master's inscription. Their every action was accumulated from years of experience. Some of the subtle techniques were often the essence. Thus, Bailey Hongzhuang watched very seriously. Lu Yuhai clearly didn't understand the inscription technique. However, he didn't feel that this process was boring. As the president, his temperament was far from ordinary people. Of course, he had known Guan Jingshan for many years and naturally understood the process very well. After a short moment of awkwardness, Guan Qian came back to his senses. The 7th grade inscription wasn't simple. This kind of viewing opportunity was undoubtedly very helpful for an inscription master of his level. The reason why his grandfather let him stay here was to let him learn. Very quickly, Guan Jingshan had already prepared the green vine juice. When Wang Xiangyu needed it, he immediately passed it over. Looking at the green vine juice in her hand, Wang Xiangyu took a deep breath. Whether or not it would succeed would depend on the effect of the green vine juice. Not only Wang Xiangyu, but everyone present was also very nervous. This was the most crucial step. If it didn't succeed, then they would have to start all over again. Among everyone, only Bailey Hongzhuang was relatively calm. This was because she understood the effect of the green vine juice. Logically speaking, this method should work. After Wang Xiangyu added the green vine juice, everyone's eyes were locked onto the furnace. They wanted to know the reaction of the inscription liquid. Wang Xiangyu couldn't help but sigh when she saw the originally violent inscription liquid suddenly become silent. Disappointment appeared in her eyes. After thinking about it for so long, he finally locked onto this possibility with great difficulty. Who would have thought that he would still fail in the end? Guan Jingshan also sighed. He never thought that it would end up like this. Looks like I've failed again. Just as Wang Xiangyu was about to close the furnace, suddenly, Guan Jingshan's voice sounded, "Wait." Listening to the sudden sound, everyone subconsciously looked at the furnace. The originally silent inscription liquid suddenly regained some vitality, but it was undoubtedly much more stable than the initial violent inscription liquid. Noticing this, Wang Xiangyu's face suddenly revealed a look of surprise. Success. This is a success. Chapter 5367. As an inscription master, even if she had never seen a true 7th grade inscription fluid, she could still judge the result from the general situation. At least, the inscription fluid in front of her was better than the one she had made before. It was more in line with the real situation. Seeing this scene, everyone let out a sigh of relief and revealed a joyful expression. Wang Xiangyu turned her head and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Miss Bailey is really a genius. I have been thinking about this problem for so long, but I couldn't think of a solution. You only heard it once and you were able to think of a solution. Your future achievements will not be low. Compared to Wang Xiangyu's attitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang before, there was no doubt that she had a trace of admiration and sincerity. Previously, after hearing the news yesterday, she was rather amazed at Bailey Hongzhuang's ability. However, after summarizing it, she knew that this was just a trick between Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Sou. Originally, she thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was also a proud young person. However, from the current performance, it was clearly different from what she had imagined. The most important thing was that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to solve the problem that she couldn't think of. This was a huge help. Guan Jingshan smiled and nodded. Hongzhuang's talent is indeed outstanding. She has such a comprehension ability at such a young age. I also feel that her future achievements will not be simple. In fact, Bailey Hongzhuang's current achievements were already very impressive. At this age, whether it was the inscription pattern technique, medical skills, or alchemy, she was so outstanding. If it was someone else, as long as they could reach this level at this age, they would be called a genius, not to mention Bailey Hongzhuang, who had all three. When Guan Qian heard that this problem was actually solved by Bailey Hongzhuang, he was also shocked. This was a 7th grade inscription. Bailey Hongzhuang was only a 6th grade inscription master. She was actually able to deal with a 7th grade inscription. This ability was simply too shocking. Master Wang, in fact, I just thought it through and blurted it out. It can only be considered as a mistake. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Of course, she wouldn't say that she already knew how to draw the 7th level vibration pattern, so she knew where the problem was as soon as she heard it. Otherwise, the two masters would definitely use her for research. After all, a young man from the lower dimensions was actually aware of such a long-lost inscription, and that was truly too shocking. After successfully creating the inscription fluid, Wang Xiangyu began to try to draw it. Creating the inscription liquid was an extremely important step, but whether or not it could be drawn successfully depended on one's own ability. Even if she had been studying the inscription pattern for a long time, she still couldn't guarantee that she could draw it successfully. As expected, the first inscription failed. Seeing this, Wang Xiangyu's expression was very calm, as if everything was within her expectations. Then, she began to draw the second one. At the same time, Guan Jingshan also began to try to draw the inscription pattern. The two of them got busy together. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two maintained their previous posture as they watched the two of them draw the inscription pattern. The method of drawing the 7th level vibration pattern has been lost for many years. A few days ago, they obtained the method from a relic. If they want to draw it successfully, I'm afraid it will take a lot of effort. Lu Yuhai looked at the two of them who were concentrating and quietly said. Chapter 5368. Of course, no one had ever succeeded in drawing this inscription pattern before, so it would take a lot of time when trying to draw it. It couldn't be completed in a short time. Even she, who had been learning from the seniors in the Chaos Ring for a long time, had to go through many failures before finally succeeding. The higher the level of the inscription pattern, the more complicated the pattern was. There were many overlapping inscriptions, like a maze, and one had to find the line to draw. At the same time, there couldn't be any mistakes during the drawing. As long as there was a pause or something else, it would lead to the failure of the inscription pattern. In fact, the situation was just as the two of them expected. They had drawn several inscriptions in a row, but all of them ended in failure. Guan Jingshan sighed faintly. Even if the inscription liquid was successfully made, it would still take some time for them to completely draw the 7th grade oscillation pattern. Thinking of Lu Yuhai and Bailey Hongzhuang who were still waiting, he stopped the movement of his hands. As for the 7th grade oscillation pattern, it wouldn't be too late to draw it later. It wasn't good to let them wait like this. It's unlikely to draw the 7th grade oscillation pattern today. Let's go out and have some tea first, Guan Jingshan said with a smile. Lu Yuhai smiled. With your ability, it's only a matter of time before you succeed. I hope so, Guan Jingshan sighed, but his vicissitude and kind face was full of confidence. When Guan Jingshan stopped, Wang Xiangyu failed once again. This time, she didn't continue to try, but walked out and sat down. You're not going to continue drawing? Seeing Wang Xiangyu's action, Guan Jingshan was a little surprised. In this aspect, Wang Xiangyu had always been like a demon, and it was impossible for her to stop at this time. Therefore, at this moment, he only felt that the sun rose from the west. No, Wang Xiangyu waved her hand, it's okay to draw it later, but it can't be late to recruit talents. As she spoke, Wang Xiangyu's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's body, with a strong interest and appreciation, but also a trace of determination. Feeling Wang Xiangyu's naked gaze, Bailey Hongzhuang only felt a burst of uneasiness. As Wang Xiangyu's voice fell, Guan Jingshan immediately understood what she meant. At this time, Lu Yuhai took the lead and said, "It seems that Master Wang is preparing to snatch people in front of me." Wang Xiangyu was slightly taken aback. What do you mean? When did Bailey Hongzhuang have anything to do with you? Hongzhuang is a deacon of our alchemist guild. You're also an alchemist. Wang Xiangyu was surprised. She really didn't know much about this. Previously, she had only heard about Bailey Hongzhuang from people talking about what had happened yesterday. She did not know much about the rest. Yes, Bailey Hongzhuang replied. However, Wang Xiangyu didn't mind in the slightest and said, "That's fine as well. The Alchemist Association is the Alchemist Association, and we're the Inscription Masters Association. There's no difference between the two. Since Hongzhuang is a deacon of your Alchemist Association, then I won't say anything else. How about letting her become a deacon of our Inscription Association?" Chapter 5369. If she could become a deacon of the guild, there would undoubtedly be a lot of convenience. Although she had entered the Immortal Cloud's secret realm directly after becoming a deacon of the Alchemist Guild, she did not have much time to go to the Alchemist Guild after returning. But long ago, she had already known the convenience of becoming a deacon of the Alchemist Guild. At least it would be more convenient in terms of purchasing medicinal herbs and so on. If she wanted to purchase a better alchemy furnace, she only needed to spend her own points. Not only that, if someone needed the same kind of medicinal herb as her, the deacon would have priority to get it. Although this didn't seem to play a big role, once a rare medicinal herb was needed, this convenience would also be reflected. Although she didn't know the situation of the Inscription Association, she could roughly guess that it shouldn't be too different. However, she was now a deacon of the Alchemist Guild, so this point still depended on Lu Yuhai's attitude. Lu Yuhai looked at Wang Xiangyu, who didn't restrain herself in front of him and couldn't help but chuckle. I knew your character was still like this. Since you know, then you shouldn't stop me. Wang Xiangyu's face was full of smiles. Obviously, she already had a card up her sleeve. She would never give up such a talent. Moreover, she and Lu Yuhai had known each other for a long time, so she believed that he still had some face. Then I have to be able to stop you first. Lu Yuhai laughed involuntarily and turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Becoming a deacon of the Inscription Association will also be of great help to you. If there is no problem, then agree. For a talent like Bailey Hongzhuang, he undoubtedly appreciated it very much. Bailey Hongzhuang could help Wang Xiangyu solve such a problem by just casually mentioning it before. Even if Wang Xiangyu didn't recruit her to the Inscription Association today, she would eventually think of other ways to recruit her. In this case, he might as well do her a favor at little cost. Of course, he also appreciated Bailey Hongzhuang and hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would have a better development. As Lu Yuhai's voice fell, Wang Xiangyu and the others' gazes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang, after you become a deacon of our Inscription Association, you will have a certain amount of power. You will be able to participate in many matters of the Inscription Association, and you will also be able to carry out punishments. Of course, the most important thing is that you can get a lot of materials at the lowest price, and there will be a certain amount of points issued every month. You can use the points to exchange for the materials or inscriptions you need. Guan Jingshan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. In fact, he had already thought of recruiting her. However, before they could talk about this issue, Wang Xiangyu had already arrived. However, the final result was still the same. Listening to this treatment, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood. Sure enough, the treatment of the deacons of the major guilds was about the same. An additional identity meant an additional layer of protection. She didn't know when she would need it in the future, so she didn't mind. Then I thanked the two masters. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang nod in agreement, Guan Jingshan and Wang Xiangyu's faces revealed a smile. Such a talent would sooner or later emerge. Now that she was recruited by their Piercing Wind City's Inscription Association, it would be their glory in the future. Chapter 5370. Soon, the Inscription Association announced that Bailey Hongzhuang had become a deacon. In the blink of an eye, the news spread like wildfire and quickly spread throughout the entire Piercing Wind City. Bailey Hongzhuang is really amazing. I remember that she had already become a deacon of the Alchemist Association and now she has another identity. In the future, if anyone wants to touch her, they will have to think twice. With her ability, it is expected that she would become a deacon. Such a young 6th grade inscription master, her future achievements will definitely be extraordinary. Furthermore, her identity is not low. If Xiao Shou did not have the identity of the Holy Maiden, she would not be comparable to Bailey Hongzhuang. At that time, everyone felt that the D family's choice was too strange. Now it seems that their choice was not bad. Now, no one would say that the D family's choice to give up Xiao Shou was stupid. It was just that everyone had their own preferences. You said that everyone is saying that there are very few people in the younger generation who can stand shoulder to shoulder with Bailey Hongzhuang? When Xiao Shou heard the maid's words, her pretty face was filled with displeasure and jealousy. Usually, these words were used to describe her, but now they were used on Bailey Hongzhuang. It was simply hateful. Looking at Xiao Sou's ferocious expression, the maid nodded her head. She was afraid that her actions would provoke Xiao Sou's anger. Deacon status? Xiao Sou snorted. The Inscription Association really thinks highly of her. She is only a 6th grade inscription master. What qualifications does she have to become a deacon? When Jun Lingxuan walked into the room, he saw Xiao Sou's furious look. He waved his hand to signal the maid to leave and said, "So, this time Bailey Hongzhuang has been in the limelight in the assessment. The Inscription Association's actions are actually within our expectations. You don't have to take it to heart. I really hate Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since she appeared, everything has been going wrong for me." Xiao Sou's face was filled with resentment. Ever since she had awakened the light attribute, no one had dared to treat her like this. Of course, there were many outstanding women, but as soon as she appeared, the light of others would be instantly overshadowed by her. Until the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, a woman whom she had never taken seriously, was now shocking everyone again and again. This was what she couldn't accept the most. Next year will be the day you become the saintess of the light. All the bad things will stop for today. After tomorrow, no one will be able to take away your glory. Jun Lingxuan had a charming smile on his face. He was confident that as long as Xiao Sou became the saint of light, all other problems would be solved. The saintess of the light was the symbol of the light's sacred assembly. A mere deacon couldn't be compared with the saintess of the light. Hearing this, Xiao Sou's complexion became better. She smiled and said, "That's right, tomorrow I will finally become the saintess of the light. At that time, the people of the D family will come." Jun Lingxuan raised his eyebrows. The ridicule and complacency in his handsome eyes had already revealed everything he was thinking. Then today I will let Bailey Hongzhuang be complacent. In any case, she will soon lose interest in these things. Chapter 5371. The next day, the sun shone brightly and the sky was clear and beautiful. Today's weather is so good. It seems that even the heavens know that today is the day that our Sou will succeed the position of the Saint of Light. Madame Zhao's face was filled with joy as she looked at the beautiful Xiao Sou in front of her. She was so satisfied that the corners of her mouth almost reached the back of her ears. Ever since she found out that Xiao Sou had an unparalleled talent in the light attribute, she had been looking forward to this day. After waiting for so many years, it was finally here. It was hard to describe how wonderful this feeling was. The entire Xiao family was filled with jubilation at this moment. Xiao Sou had become the Saint of Light, and this was the Xiao family's greatest glory. The crowd of cultivators were looking forward to the succession ceremony that would be held in the piercing wind city later on. They had been looking forward to that scene for a long time. When the time comes, they would receive the envious gazes of cultivators from various large forces. Even if they were not the ones who would become the Saint of Light, they would still share the glory. That's natural. We, so, have always received preferential treatment from the heavens. Xiao Yanlong looked at Xiao Sou with satisfaction. He had always been very satisfied with this daughter of his. She was his pride. Tong Yunshu had also rushed over early in the morning. After waiting for so long, Xiao Sou had finally become the Saint of Light. Seeing Tong Yunshu's appearance, Xiao Sou's fair face immediately lit up with a joyful and affectionate smile. She stood up and walked over to greet her. "Master, you're here. So, you're just too beautiful today." Tong Yunshu praised from the bottom of her heart. Xiao Sou smiled with a hint of bashfulness and shyness. "From today onwards, you're the Saint of Light. From now on, you have to pay attention to your identity no matter where you go. You can't cause any trouble." Hearing this, Xiao Sou felt guilty. "Master, I've implicated you in the previous incident." "Silly girl, there's no need to talk about implicating between us." Tong Yunshu's smile remained. "Don't take the previous incident to heart. You were only reprimanded by the president. It's no big deal." "Master, I won't let you suffer any grievances in the future." Xiao Sou looked at Tong Yunshu seriously, her clear and bright eyes filled with determination. It was all thanks to her master's help that she was able to get to where she was today. Otherwise, she would not have become the Saint of Light. It's good that you have this kind of heart, but what Master wants most is to see you happy. Of course I am. Mrs. Xiao, you help Sei Wu prepare first. I'll go outside and see if there's anything I need. Tong Yunshu had known the Xiao clan for many years, and she was also Xiao Sou's master. Both sides were already very familiar with each other, so she was extremely casual. All right. After Tong Yunshu noticed that everything was ready, she sat down on the stone bench and looked at the festive scene of the Xiao clan. It was even livelier than a festival. Logically speaking, she should be very happy at such a moment. After all, they had been waiting for this day for too long. However, for some reason, she had a bad premonition in her heart, as if something was going to happen. However, no matter how she thought about it, she couldn't think of anything that could happen today. Chapter 5372. Master, what are you thinking about? Why do you look so unhappy? Xiao Sou frowned. Could it be that the previous matter was not so simple? Did President punish you? As far as Xiao Sou was concerned, Tong Yunshu was her closest kin. Ever since her light attribute talent was discovered, she had been cultivating with Tong Yunshu, and it could be said that the time she spent with Tong Yunshu was much longer than her parents, so their relationship was naturally very deep. Seeing Xiao Sou so nervous that she could not wait to find President Lu to reason with him, Tong Yunshu hurriedly waved her hand. So, things are not what you think. Then what is it? Xiao Sou patiently asked. Master, could it be that there are still misgivings between you and me? If that is really the case, then it really hurts me. Seeing this, Tong Yunshu looked deeply at Xiao Sou and her heart instantly softened. So, it is not that Master is not willing to tell you, but I do not want to affect your mood. Tong Yunshu was actually very helpless as she did not know why she would have such a premonition on such a joyous day. Master, just say it. Tong Yunshu hesitated for a moment but still said, I do not know why, but I feel that something might happen today. Hearing this, Xiao Sou's expression slightly paused before she suddenly smiled. Master, so this is what you are talking about. Don't worry, what could happen on such a day? The Piercing Wind City is the headquarters of the Holy Light Assembly, and if someone dares to cause trouble at this time, wouldn't that be seeking their own death? Xiao Sou's expression was calm. If it was before, she was indeed worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would snatch her position. But now, she was not worried at all. She was the one who had truly lit up the Holy Maiden Crystal. From the moment the Saintess Crystal was lit up, she could no longer feel any threat. Aren't you worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would do something? Looking at Xiao Sou's solemn expression, Tong Yunshu's mood relaxed a little. In fact, she also felt that her worries were completely unreasonable. At a time like this, what else can she do? Xiao Sou raised her eyebrows. She has been in the limelight for the past few days, and from today onwards, she will not be able to continue to be arrogant in front of me. Once she became the Holy Maiden of Light, even if she was still young, her position would be extraordinary. If Bailey Hongzhuang dared to treat her with the Holy Light Assembly's guards to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson, even if it was Bewitching, he would not be able to protect her. Master! Master, Master! On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest had also woken up early. Today is the day that Xiao Sou will succeed the position of the Holy Maiden of Light. 2 days ago, the people of the Holy Light Assembly were already busy. This time, the battle array is unprecedentedly huge. Di Xiaofeng's lips curled into a cold smile. If it was someone else who succeeded the position of the Holy Maiden of Light, perhaps he would sincerely congratulate them. However, it was Xiao Sou, and he hated that he could not meet with any problems halfway. Chapter 5373. Just thinking about it shows how proud Xiao Sou is right now. Shangguan Yingying pursed her lips. She really didn't like Xiao Sou. How could someone like her have the right to become the Saint of Light? How unreasonable! However, her gaze subconsciously fell upon Bailey Hongzhuang. She knew that Hongzhuang was going to make her move today. This was going to be an exciting show. As long as Hongzhuang was able to snatch the position of the Saint of Light, she felt that the scene would be very interesting. Bitches will be punished by the heavens. Don't worry about it. When Xiren smiled faintly. Not everyone in the D family knew about this. Apart from them, only Diyu Jue and Di Xiaofeng knew about it. The reason for this was naturally to prevent spies from leaking the secret. If Xiao Shou and the others were prepared, then today's matter would not be so easy to proceed. Hence, even now, they were still pretending that they didn't know anything. The cultivators from the D family were also unwilling to accept this. In the past, they had been looking forward to Xiao Shou becoming the Saint of Light. However, ever since the two parties had broken off their relationship, they couldn't wait for this identity to disappear. After all, once the Xiao family status rose, it wouldn't be good news for them. Diyu Jue looked at the disciples who were discussing animatedly. His handsome face was filled with seriousness as he spoke in a steady voice. "Everyone, restrain yourselves. We're leaving now." As soon as he spoke, the chattering crowd immediately shut their mouths and followed closely behind Diyu Jue. Today, almost everyone had gathered in one place, which was near the plaza where the successor ceremony of the Holy Light Assembly would be held. Many great forces had come to this grand occasion. Naturally, no one wanted to miss it. As Bailey Hongzhuang arrived, her clear eyes were filled with astonishment when she saw the monstrous array in front of her. The open-air plaza where the assessment had been held a few days ago was already very large. However, the plaza in front of her was almost 10 times larger than the open-air plaza. The guards of the Holy Light Assembly were scattered all around the square, responsible for maintaining order. Young and beautiful attendants politely led the teams of the various forces to their exclusive seats. Only in this way could he ensure that everything would proceed smoothly and in an orderly manner. The giant stage in the center was made of white jade, and it emitted a lustrous luster. The seats around it were also arranged in an extremely intimate manner. If this wasn't a solemn and serious occasion, all kinds of fruits and drinks would have been served. I've long expected this to be an amazing battle, but now that I look at it, it's even more spectacular than I imagined. Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but sigh. Just from this place alone, he could tell how spectacular the succession ceremony would be. Mo Yunjue sized up everything in front of him. His deep gaze quietly fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Fortunately, all of this was prepared for Hongzhuang. Actually, this square is already very spectacular. The Holy Light Assembly's decennial chanting ceremony is held here. Every time the chanting ceremony was held, a large number of cultivators would rush over. This was because every cultivator would be able to obtain great benefits from the chanting. Chapter 5374. Di Xiaofeng saw that Di Beichen and the others might not understand, so he started to explain. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others nodded. Now it was easy to understand. They had just arrived, but the waitress immediately came up to welcome them and led them to the Di family's exclusive seats. As Bailey Hongzhuang and the others sat down, they understood that the seating arrangement was very particular. It was based on the size of the power. Coincidentally, the Jun family was sitting on the other side of them. The disciples from both sides looked at each other, and naturally, they hated each other. Diyu Jue, I didn't expect such a coincidence. Jun Hongcheng looked at Diyu Jue with a smile. Today was the day his future daughter-in-law would become the Holy Maiden of the Light. Coincidentally, Diyu Jue was sitting beside him. Fate was really strange. I don't think this is a coincidence, said Diyu Jue indifferently. His jade-like face carried indifference and arrogance. Jun Hongcheng looked at Diyu Jue and felt that this guy's ability to choke people was getting stronger and stronger. He was just casually saying something, and he was choked to the point that he couldn't say anything. However, when he noticed the worry faintly revealed between Diyu Jue's brows, his mood improved again. At this moment, Diyu Jue was just putting on a strong front, not wanting to lose face. However, he was definitely very vexed in his heart. He was worried that after the Xiao clan became stronger, their position would be in danger. Thinking about this, Jun Hongqing didn't care about being choked just now. After all, they were the ones who benefited from this matter. There was no need to ridicule him. Diyu Jue was already ugly enough. Diyu Jue didn't know that Jun Hongcheng was thinking about so many things in such a short time. He was actually worried about whether it would be difficult for his daughter-in-law to become the Holy Maiden of the Light. Just by looking at the scale, one could tell how many forces had come here today. If it were an ordinary young man, he would feel extremely nervous standing on this high platform, let alone interrupting the succession ceremony. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen had already shown extraordinary courage, the current situation was obviously different from before. The pressure was far greater than before. Xiaofeng, I've finally met you. A surprised voice rose in the air. Immediately after, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others noticed a group coming from the other side. It was the Murong clan. They hadn't seen Murong Jing for a while since they parted ways in the Waterpool City. The reunion of old friends was naturally a joyous occasion. Murong Jing, what took you so long? Di Xiaofeng stood up with a face full of smiles. I haven't seen your clan's troops in the Piercing Wind City these few days. I'm late. I'm really late. Murong Jing replied with a smile. Our clan was delayed by some matters and we only arrived at the Piercing Wind City yesterday. Fortunately, we did not miss today's ceremony. It's not a big deal if you miss it. That's true. Murong Jing naturally understood that the Di family probably didn't want to participate in this succession ceremony. It would be inappropriate if they didn't come because of the Holy Light Assembly. Therefore, they could only reluctantly come. At this time, the more glorious Xiao So was, the worse the Di family's reputation would be. Regarding this, he felt very helpless. What a pity. Actually, I think Hongzhuang is more suitable to be the Holy Maiden of the Light. Chapter 5375. Lower your voice. Do you want to be targeted by others at this time? Di Xiaofeng lowered his voice. It was not a big deal for them to talk about such things normally. However, at this time, if they were heard by someone with ulterior motives, it would inevitably cause some trouble. He naturally did not care about such things. However, he did not wish for his friends to be implicated because of him. Looking at Di Xiaofeng's worried expression, Murong Jing smiled calmly. Don't worry. I'm not the only one with this idea. Moreover, even if Xiao So is already the Holy Maiden of Light, it's impossible for her to completely stop everyone from talking. Long before he said those words, he had already considered all of this. He believed that the cultivators who participated in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm last time would have the same idea. It was just a matter of whether they said it or not. Moreover, his relationship with Di Xiaofeng was so good that Xiao So had long been concerned about him. It would be useless for him to distance himself from them. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled faintly. Sure enough, after knowing each other for so long, Murong Jing had always been so calm. Jun Lingshuan looked at Di Xiaofeng and the others who were chatting happily. A trace of coldness flashed through his eyes. These guys were still so annoying. Young Master Di, we meet again. Hearing the familiar voice, Di Beichen turned his head and saw Chen Feng walking over. The Great Devil Sex team was not small. However, Chen Feng had always been the leader of the team. Listening to your voice, you seem to have missed me? Di Beichen teased. Hearing this, Chen Feng chuckled. Indeed. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others who already knew about the relationship between Di Beichen and Chen Feng, many of the new faces of the Great Devil sect revealed expressions of disbelief. Their eldest senior brother was usually a person who did not smile. They did not expect him to be so happy talking with someone today. Soon, the disciples in the team who understood the situation started to explain that these two had a life and death relationship. The Jiang clan's team walked over as well. Jiang Wenyan welcomed them with a face full of smiles. The head of the Jiang family was a little confused as to why Jiang Wenyan would choose to rope in the Di family at such a time. However, he didn't think that there was anything wrong with it. Xiao So had become the Saint of Light, and her status had changed greatly. However, the Di family was not weak either. It could only be said that Jiang Wenyan favored them more. He was very confident in his son's foresight. Over the past few years, Jiang Wenyan's performance had never disappointed him, so he let Jiang Wenyan be. At this moment, many forces had gathered in the square. When the crowd saw how lively the Di family was, they were all shocked. I thought that since the Xiao family was in the limelight today, many forces would keep their distance from the Di family. I didn't expect the situation to be the opposite of what I expected. Actually, I think that the D family isn't weak either. Moreover, they have alchemists, doctors, and inscriptionists. This development will be very impressive. This is going to be really lively. Naturally, the Lin family's team was not far away. It was just that they had arrived slightly later than them, so there were two more teams between them. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the back. The stronger the force, the more seats they would have. The Bailey family was only a small family. Naturally, their status could not be compared to the big families. Therefore, she was also curious as to where her seat would be. Chapter 5376. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang was also surprised. Logically speaking, the Bailey family and the Ao family should be on the same scale. Even though they were only one row ahead of the rest, it was enough to show that they were ahead of the rest by quite a bit. However, after thinking about it for a while, she came to an understanding. Thinking about it, this was probably an arrangement made after seeing her relationship with the D family. The Ao family was dependent on the Jun family, while the Bailey family and the D family were connected by marriage. Naturally, the two families were completely different. After Bai Li Fan sat in the seat that was arranged, he was also very surprised. This was because some of the families that were more influential than them were actually ranked at the back. Originally, he was worried that his family's position was wrong, but after confirming it again and again, he was sure that everything was correct and there was no problem. At such a lively time, the Nangong family naturally arrived. As soon as the news of Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan's engagement spread, Nangong Yuqing had completely given up on this idea. In fact, he already knew that his chances were not high. Moreover, his father no longer supported him, so all his efforts over the years were in vain. Seeing the people from the Nangong family arrive, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at them and found that Nangong Xiaolong was not in the group. Hongzhuang, Nangong Xiaolong actually did not appear at such a lively occasion. How surprising! Bailey Yunyan's eyes were filled with surprise. She originally thought that she would definitely see him today. Presumably, he also knows how shameful his current appearance is, so he didn't come. Bailey Hongzhuang said faintly. For such a shameless guy, she really felt disgusted. If Bailey she had not been soft-hearted in the end, it would have been a good thing for such a person to fall early. However, after this incident, Nangong Xiaolong's status in the Nangong family would be greatly reduced. This was not bad. In fact, everything was as Bailey Hongzhuang had expected. Nangong Xiaolong had been crippled by many forces. If he were to appear today, it would definitely remind everyone of the previous incident. Once they started talking about it, it would be extremely detrimental to their family's image. After much consideration, he finally made this decision. Of course, Nangong Xiaolong was extremely indignant about this. Father, I'm going to the Bailey family's team. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Diu Jue and said. She was now the head of the Bailey family. Although she was also the young mistress of the D family, she still had to make a trip there. Hearing this, Diu Jue naturally knew about this situation. He immediately nodded and said, "Go." In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked towards the Bailey family. By now, most of the teams had already taken their seats. The square was very large, but there were even more people here. In a short period of time, all the seats were filled. Therefore, when Bailey Hongzhuang stood up, she attracted a lot of attention. A beauty was already very eye-catching, let alone the young mistress of the D family who was extremely eye-catching today. When the crowd saw the direction that Bailey Hongzhuang was walking in, they immediately understood. However, many people were still shocked. Chapter 5377. The Bailey family is really going all out. For the sake of development, they're even willing to give away their family. How amazing! Some of the families who didn't understand why the Bailey family's position was higher than theirs immediately understood. It turned out that this was the most important reason. For a moment, everyone was somewhat jealous. As a small family, it was really difficult for them to improve. Now that the Bailey family suddenly had a meteoric rise, their feelings were naturally extremely complicated. Although the D family, Xiao family, and Jun family's conflicts were constantly intensifying, An aristocratic family was still an aristocratic family. As long as they were willing to support a small family, the small family's strength could quickly improve. If it was someone else, there was no guarantee that they would have such ability. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was the D family's young madam. The D family even gave up Xiao So for her. It was obvious how much importance they attached to her. Bai Li Fan frowned slightly as he listened to the discussions around him. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's carefree and calm smile, he calmed down. After all, the family head was also being criticized by everyone. However, why was the family head so calm? These guys would find out the truth sooner or later. When that time came, they would be envious of the family head for having such a talent. Who told them not to have such good fortune? The D family's members looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's peerless figure with anticipation and admiration in their eyes. They had already heard about the family head's performance a few days ago. She was simply a role model for them to worship. Although the D family had doctors and alchemists, their ranks were completely inferior to the family heads. As for inscriptionists, the D family didn't have any. This was because inscriptionists required enough comprehension and were even rarer than alchemists. However, their family head was actually a 6th-level inscriptionist. They really felt that it was a pity that they missed the family head's opportunity to be in the limelight a few days ago. Fortunately, they could guess how shocking the situation was just by listening to everyone's discussions. Even if they didn't see it with their own eyes, it was still very satisfying. Family head. As Bailey Hongzhuang arrived, everyone in the Bailey family greeted her respectfully. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Wherever her gaze landed, the great elder quickly gave up a seat. Bailey Hongzhuang took the opportunity to sit down. Hearing this unanimous greeting her, no one doubted that this was fake news. Bailey Hongzhuang is really capable. She was born in the lower world, but in the blink of an eye, she became the head of an upper world family. Status. Isn't that so? Was. Family head, these people are just talkative. You don't have to take it to heart. The surrounding discussions made Bai Li Fan feel a little awkward. He didn't want such untruthful remarks to affect the family head's mood. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand when she heard this. These kinds of remarks will disappear very soon. Furthermore, can't you hear that you're more jealous? Bai Li Fan was slightly stunned. After thinking carefully, a smile appeared on his face. That's indeed the case. Chapter 5378. As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, Bailey Fan suddenly froze. He did not understand the meaning of the Bailey family's words. Today was the day when the family's reputation would spread? After thinking carefully for a moment, Bailey Fan felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was probably talking about today. From today onwards, everyone would know that she was the family head of the Bailey family. Furthermore, the Bailey family and the D family had an inseparable relationship. He had already sensed this earlier. Ever since everyone knew about the relationship between their family and the D family, the way they looked at them had changed. Although there were many criticisms, at least they had received a lot of attention. Just as everyone was talking, the Light Sacred Assembly's president, Lu Hongwei, appeared on the stage in the middle. Following his appearance, the originally bustling square suddenly quieted down a little. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to come here. I would like to express my gratitude to everyone. Lu Hongwei bowed. His genial face was filled with a joyful smile. As everyone knows, the Light Sacred Assembly has not had a holy maiden for many years. From the day I became the president of the Light Sacred Assembly, this responsibility has fallen on my shoulders. All these years, I have been trying to find a young person who could become the holy maiden. Fortunately, I have not let you down. I have finally found her. Lu Hongwei looked at the cultivators around him. His face was filled with pride. This could be considered as fulfilling the old president's last wish. Even if his soul were to return to the 9 heavens in the future, he would still have the face to meet the old president. Now, let us welcome the holy maiden. As soon as he said this, the entire square was filled with thunderous applause. Immediately after, Xiao Se Wu, like a moon surrounded by stars, slowly appeared in front of everyone with elegant steps. Today, Xiao Seiwu was wearing a white gauze dress with fluttering feathers woven with silver thread. The aqua blue pattern embellished the dress, which reflected the dazzling light of the stars under the sunlight. The clothes were specially tailored to accentuate her figure perfectly, revealing her exquisite curves. On her head, there was a crystal crown that symbolized supreme glory and nobility. Her appearance had always been outstanding, and her exquisite makeup made her look even more elegant and otherworldly. The moment she appeared, she gave people a feeling of holiness, elegance, and inviolability. Seeing Xiao Sou like this, everyone below the stage was shocked. Then, a burst of exclamations and sighs broke out. Heavens, I didn't expect Xiao Sou to be so beautiful. After becoming the saintess of the light, even her temperament has become different. Yes, she is so elegant, calm, and noble. This is the saint of light. If it was said that there were many people who were disdainful of Xiao Seiwu's strength and character before, then after seeing such a Xiao Seiwu at this moment, their previous thoughts quietly turned into nothingness. Jun Lingxuan looked at Xiao Sou, who was the center of attention, and was momentarily dazed. So Xiao Sou was also so beautiful. A sense of pride arose spontaneously. This was his, Jun Lingxuan's, fiancée. For a moment, many people's gazes also fell on Jun Lingxuan and Bewitching. Looking at Jun Lingxuan, they were naturally filled with envy. To be able to become a couple with such a saintess of the light was something to be envied. As for looking at Bewitching, everyone wanted to know if Bewitching would regret it. Chapter 5379. Xiao Sou could feel the envious and yearning gazes of the crowd as she stood on the high platform. She could not help but raise the corners of her lips. That was right. This was everything that belonged to her. She was born to be the center of attention. Xiao Yanlong, Tong Yunshu, and the others stared at Xiao Sou, who was enjoying her limitless glory and could not hide their feelings of comfort and excitement. After waiting for so many years, this day has finally come. Xiao Sou turned her gaze and quietly looked at the D family's group. However, she was shocked when she did not see Bailey Hongzhuang. Could it be that Bailey Hongzhuang was afraid of seeing my success, so she had purposely found an excuse to not come today? Xiao Sou found it funny at the thought of this. Bailey Hongzhuang has always put on a tough front, but now, she finally knows how big of a gap there is between them. However, even if Bailey Hongzhuang had not come today, it would have been useless. This matter would have spread throughout the upper realm and everyone would know about it. The next moment, Xiao Seiwu's gaze shifted to Di Beichen. For this man who once made her fall in love with him at first sight, she was also unwilling, and now she was even more resentful. Everyone knew that she had been rejected and this had undoubtedly caused her to lose face. She also wanted to see Di Beichen's face filled with regret. However, she did not see it because Di Beichen had been watching everything calmly from the very beginning. He did not even show the most basic expression of amazement or stupefaction. A sense of resentment rose in her heart for no reason. She did not know whether Di Beichen was faking it or not. How could he not feel any ripples in his heart at a time like this? When she noticed Jun Lingxuan's expression, Xiao Sou's face bloomed into a smile once again. Master, look at how pleased Xiao Sou is. Tsk is it? Xiao He pursed her lips. She had never concealed her disgust towards people. Right now, she's at the peak of her life. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into an enchanting smile, but her eyes were sharp. She had no intention of destroying the interests of others, but when others threatened her, she would not be polite either. She could only blame Xiao Sou for wanting to take everything away from her, so the two of them were destined to compete. I'm really looking forward to Xiao Sou's expression. Xiao He rubbed its hands. Its bright and clear eyes were filled with anticipation. It believed that its master would definitely succeed. When Lu Hongwei saw Xiao Sou shining like a star, the smile on his face widened, revealing joy and pride. She is Xiao Sou. Thunderous applause sounded again. The group of young cultivators was extremely envious of Xiao Sou. Who could stand shoulder to shoulder with such glory? There were many outstanding cultivators, but there was only one holy maiden. Her position was not something that could be shaken by others, not even by the entire aristocratic family. Xiao Shou enjoyed the applause very much. She walked gracefully to Lu Hongwei's side and stood still, looking at the densely packed crowd in front of her. All these years, Xiao Shou has been working very hard to get to where she is today. The Holy Light Assembly is also very glad that we've finally found the Holy Maiden. Shortly after, Vice President Tong Yunshu's figure appeared before everyone's eyes. I'm sure everyone is very curious about the conditions to become the Holy Maiden. Now that we've found the Holy Maiden, we'll also announce the conditions to everyone. Chapter 5380. In fact, many people were filled with curiosity about this. Even if they were not of the light attribute, they also wanted to know how Xiao Shou managed to achieve a condition that others could not. There are two conditions to become the Saint of the Light. First, the light attribute talent must be at the maximum level without any other impurities. Second, the Saint's crystal must be lit. When these words came out, everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. They did not know what the Saint's crystal was, but the fact that the light attribute was at the maximum level was enough to make them flinch. Those who had awakened their talents to the 7th level were already considered geniuses. Those who had awakened their talents to the 8th or even 9th level were the top geniuses of the major forces. As for the maximum level, it was almost unheard of. However, the condition to become the Saint of the Light required one to have a maximum level of talent. At this moment, everyone finally understood why the Holy Light Assembly had been searching for the Saint of the Light for so many years without success. It turned out that it was so difficult. Did I hear wrongly? Doesn't this mean that Xiao Shou's talent attribute has reached the maximum level? That's too terrifying. Previously, I only knew that Xiao Shou had an extraordinary background. Now, I know that Xiao Shou is so powerful. She's a genius among geniuses with such talent. With such talent, her cultivation speed is not something that ordinary people can compare to. Previously, I thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was not weak compared to her. Now, it seems that the gap between them is not ordinary. These words resonated with the crowd. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang was an expert in many professions, the upper realm was still a world that revered martial arts. Without enough power, everything was meaningless. Even other professions were born to support one's power. With a maximum level of talent and the position of the Saint of the Light, Xiao Shou's future would be infinitely brilliant. For a moment, everyone looked at the D family with a hint of sympathy. They had made the wrong choice after all. If they knew about Xiao Shou's talent, they would not have made such a decision. That's not right. The D family and the Xiao family are so close. They should know about Xiao Shou's situation very well. Everyone looked at each other. Due to the rise in Xiao Shou's status, the few major forces that were related to her had been contacted by everyone. At this moment, Lu Hongwei's voice sounded again. Of course, as long as one can ignite the Saintess crystal, it doesn't matter if one's talent has not reached the maximum level. However, according to our research, even if you're not at max level, you have to be infinitely close to it before you can ignite the Saintess crystal. Hearing this, everyone was slightly stunned. Did this mean that Xiao Shou had not actually reached the maximum level, but was infinitely close to it? This gave them some comfort. Of course, they also understood that this result was slightly worse than reaching the maximum level, but in reality, it was not much worse. Because this kind of talent was not something that everyone could reach. Today is the inauguration ceremony of the Saintess of the Light. Xiao Shou will light up the Saintess crystal on the spot and receive the Saintess baptism. Lu Hongwei's expression was serious and solemn. Today was a solemn day that would be recorded in the history of the Holy Assembly. Next, bring up the Saintess crystal. Chapter 5381. A gigantic square stone pillar appeared quietly with the Saintess crystal placed on top of it. As Lu Hongwei removed the red cloth, everyone finally saw the true appearance of the mysterious Saintess crystal. With just one look, everyone's faces were filled with shock and amazement. A huge hexagonal crystal sat on top of the stone pillar. It looked very simple, but everyone was shocked when they saw it for the first time. They knew that it was definitely not an ordinary item. It must be a holy item. From the moment the Saintess crystal appeared, everyone felt as if they were bathed in the power of light. They felt an indescribable sense of comfort, as if their bodies were being purified and cleansed. Many people even broke through bottlenecks that they had not broken through for a long time under this power. The golden sunlight shone on the Saintess crystal, reflecting a dazzling and blazing light. Everyone could not take their eyes off it. So this is the Saintess crystal. Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed slightly. The moment she saw the Saintess crystal, a strange feeling appeared in her heart. It was intimate, mysterious, and yearning. She could not help but want to get closer to it. Even though she was so far away, she could still feel the pure energy. Master, this Saintess crystal is really amazing. Look, many cultivators broke through in an instant. After the first cultivator broke through, more than 10 people broke through in the entire square. It was undoubtedly a spectacular scene. The cultivators who broke through were all overjoyed. None of them thought that they would receive such a great thing just by coming here to watch the show. It was simply too surprising. The other cultivators looked at them enviously. They were simply too lucky. With their cultivation, it was not easy to break through one level. Now, they were able to receive such benefits just by coming to watch the succession ceremony. However, although everyone was envious of others who could break through directly, they were also satisfied. That was because the purifying power had also benefited them greatly. This is the holy item of our Holy Light Assembly, the Saintess crystal. Whether it was Lu Hongwei or anyone else in the Holy Light Assembly, everyone was extremely sincere when they saw the Saintess crystal. At this moment, everyone understood that the reason why the Holy Light Assembly had always been so aloof was probably related to this inheritance. At the very least, the other guilds did not have such a holy item. Before we proceed with the succession ceremony, I welcome all light attribute cultivators to try and light up the Saintess crystal. Tong Yunshu smiled as she looked at the crowd below the high platform. This was something that the Sacred Assembly had already discussed beforehand. Such an important ceremony must be solemn and solemn. At the same time, it was necessary to let everyone understand that all of this was so strict that there was no element of deception. Upon hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. It seemed that this was the best opportunity that Shi Hongqiao had mentioned earlier. If she could light up the Saintess crystal, then everything would become very interesting. However, after Tong Yunshu finished speaking, no one below the high platform moved. Since the Holy Light Assembly behaved so calmly, there naturally wouldn't be any problems. If he went up at this time, wouldn't it be the same as being Xiao Sou's stepping stone? Chapter 5382. Why would they go up and humiliate themselves when everyone was looking at them? The smile on Xiao Sou's lips grew even more radiant when she saw this. In fact, all of this was within their expectations. At a time like this, no one would be willing to sacrifice themselves for the sake of Xiao Sou and embarrass themselves in front of so many people. Hence, they had only mentioned this point and they would soon begin the succession ceremony. Just when everyone was sure that no one would step forward at this moment, a voice that was as clear as the sound of nature suddenly resounded, causing the atmosphere to stagnate. "Let me try." Everyone turned towards the source of the voice. When they saw the elegant and refined figure of a peerless beauty, they were first stunned before they understood what was going on. The initially silent plaza instantly exploded into a heated discussion. Everyone knew about the grudge between Xiao Sou and Bailey Hongzhuang. They had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would keep a low profile today, but they never thought that she would make such a shocking move at a time like this. It seems that today's succession ceremony would be much more exciting than they had imagined. Bai Li Fan and the Bailey family were completely dumbfounded. They stared at their master in disbelief. Today was probably the day that the Bailey family would receive the most attention. Heavens, the master is actually going to attempt to light up the saint's crystal? Everyone's looking at us. What should we do? As cultivators from small families, they had a sense of inferiority when faced with so many outstanding young people in such an environment. They had only hoped to keep a low profile and avoid being noticed by others. Now, they had become the focus of everyone's attention. The voices of ridicule from before had become even louder. Bailey Hongzhuang really has a deep grudge with Xiao So. She's even willing to step forward at a time like this. Wouldn't it be more satisfying for Xiao So if she were to embarrass herself? You don't know this, but Bailey Hongzhuang's talent in the light attribute isn't simple either. Some say that she's even more powerful than Xiao So. Do you think that her talent can reach the maximum level? Forget I said anything. Bai Li Fan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and suddenly understood. So this was what the clan head was talking about when he said that he had a great reputation. His heart skipped a beat. Patriarch, if you want to do such a shocking thing, you should at least inform me first. He was so scared that his heart almost stopped beating. Not only the Bailey family, but the Di family, the Lin family, the Murong family, and the other families that were on good terms with Bailey Hongzhuang were also dumbfounded. What was going on with Bailey Hongzhuang today? Bailey Hongzhuang instantly became the focus of everyone's attention. In the face of everyone's criticism, her expression remained the same. Her beautiful face was surrounded by a confident and elegant luster. Let me try. There shouldn't be a problem, right? Lu Hongwei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was standing alone, and a trace of surprise and complexity flashed in his deep eyes. Then he nodded and said, "No problem, you're very welcome." Xiao So nodded as well. Her exquisitely made-up face was filled with smiles. She had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would not be here. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would actually appear in the Bailey family's group. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang was so brainless today. She had come to provoke her at a time like this. Wasn't she looking for death? Chapter 5383. Lighting up the Holy Maiden Crystal was not an easy task. Master, are you really going? Bai Li Fan looked worriedly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Almost all the powers were gathered here today. If anything were to go wrong, it would not end well. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Bai Li Fan. Her calm eyes strangely made Bai Li Fan feel more at ease. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. From today onwards, the Bailey family will no longer be nameless. Her ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with a bright and determined light. Back then, the Bailey family had gradually declined because of her fall. Now, she wanted the Bailey family to rise to glory under her leadership. Bailey Hongzhuang walked steadily and gracefully towards the high platform. Throughout the entire process, she was the focus of everyone's attention. Jun Lingxuan's lips curled into a cold smile. Bailey Hongzhuang is really a lunatic. She still can't recognize reality at a time like this. What a joke. Previously, he was also worried about this. However, ever since Xiao So lit up the Holy Maiden Crystal, they were completely at ease. No matter how stunning Bailey Hongzhuang's previous performance was, she was no longer a threat. Jun Hongqing furrowed his brows. He didn't know why, but from the moment Bailey Hongzhuang stepped forward, he suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. He and Liu Jue had known each other for many years. Although their relationship had always been bad, most of the time, the person who knew him the best was his enemy. With Liu Jue's personality, he would definitely not allow his own family to do such a thing. Although the Di family members also looked extremely shocked, he had almost immediately looked at Liu Jue. He clearly did not see the slightest bit of shock in his expression. It was as if he already knew all this. Ling Sun, other people shouldn't be able to light up this Holy Maiden Crystal, right? Jun Hongqing couldn't help but ask, wanting to confirm it again. Jun Lingxuan smiled and nodded. Of course, father, you don't have to worry. Not everyone can light up the Holy Maiden Crystal. The Holy Light Assembly hasn't been able to find anyone to light it up for so many years. How can so many people appear at once? As far as I know, there is only one person who can light up the Saintess Crystal at the same time. Now that Sei Wu could light it up, it directly cut off all other possibilities. If Bailey Hongzhuang goes up now, she will only embarrass herself. Just wait for the Di family to make a fool of themselves. Jun Lingxuan was immensely pleased with himself. Originally, the Di family had wanted to keep a low profile today. However, they actually dared to provoke them at a time like this. They were truly courting death. Hearing Jun Lingxuan's words, Jun Hongcheng finally relaxed. A smile once again appeared on his face. According to his guess, Di Yujue probably didn't understand the situation of the Holy Light Assembly, so he was a bit too naive. Wanting to snatch the position of the Holy Maiden at a time like this was really a fool's dream. Tong Yunshu looked at the peerlessly beautiful figure in white, and the ominous premonition in her heart quietly magnified. Long before arriving at the square today, she had this thought in her heart. It was only when she saw that everything was going smoothly that she felt a bit more at ease. However, with the appearance of Bailey Hongzhuang, the uneasiness in her heart surfaced again. Chapter 5384. Bewitching, isn't it a little too impulsive for Hongzhuang to go up like this? Dijai's looked worriedly at the proud white figure in front of him and couldn't help but ask Bewitching. Appearing at this time would not only give Xiao So a chance to humiliate her, but it might also offend the Radiant Sacred Assembly. Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator of the light attribute. Offending the Radiant Sacred Assembly wouldn't do her any good. Bewitching glanced at Dijai's, then smiled and said, "Don't worry, Hongzhuang knows what she's doing. Besides, didn't President Liu say that everyone is welcome to try?" "That's true, but..." Dijai's frowned. Bewitching was usually quite smart. Why was he so muddle-headed at this time? As Bailey Hongzhuang got closer and closer to the stage, the smile on Xiao So's face grew wider and wider. With a leap, Bailey Hongzhuang gracefully appeared on the stage. If Xiao So had monopolized all the glory before, then with Bailey Hongzhuang standing not far from her, the originally dazzling Xiao So dimmed a little. Bailey Hongzhuang was wearing a simple and elegant white dress, embellished with stars and moons. Although it wasn't as noble and gorgeous as Xiao So's dress, it had a different kind of otherworldly elegance. She was like a lotus rising from the water, as elegant as a lotus. Her exquisite facial features were impeccable. Everyone knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was a top-notch beauty. Even if she didn't dress up, she was already stunning beyond compare. If she did dress up, who knew how stunning she would be? Xiao So, who was originally extremely pleased with herself, noticed the change in everyone's attitude. A trace of resentment appeared in her black eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. Because soon, she would see Bailey Hongzhuang make a fool of herself in front of everyone. In a place where everyone was gathered, once she made a fool of herself, it wouldn't be easy to recover. Lu Hongwei smiled and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. "Miss Bailey, you're welcome to try." Bailey Hongzhuang bowed respectfully. "Sorry to disturb President Liu. Because I'm also a cultivator of the light attribute, I would like to see this sacred object up close." "Such a sacred object? I'm sure it will be more enlightening for us to see it up close." "That's right." Lu Hongwei nodded. "The Saintess crystal contains the purest light energy. If a cultivator of the light attribute comes in contact with it, it may increase their understanding of the light attribute." As these words, all the cultivators of the light were stunned, and their eyes. If they could feel the purification and cleansing of the Saintess crystal from so far away, wouldn't the benefits be even more obvious once they got closer? How difficult to increase their understanding of attributes. They were all too clear about this. Now that there was an opportunity in front of them, they actually ignored it. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang, who was already standing beside the Saintess crystal on the high platform, they suddenly felt that they were too stupid. Bailey Hongzhuang was the real example of great wisdom appearing to be stupidity. It may seem like a joke, but in fact, she had obtained the exact benefits. In fact, after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Lu Hongwei and the rest of the deacons of the Holy Light Assembly understood. So Bailey Hongzhuang didn't deliberately come to find trouble. She just wanted to see the Saintess crystal up close, so there was nothing wrong with that. Chapter 5385. In the blink of an eye, Bailey Hongzhuang's seemingly stupid decision had turned into the smartest move in everyone's eyes. Xiao So saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had changed everyone's view with just a few words, and she was speechless. Did these fellows not have brains? With one look, she knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had made up an excuse. She actually believed it. Since Miss Bailey wants to try and see if you can light up the Holy Maiden crystal, then go ahead and give it a try. Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with eagerness. She wanted to grab this opportunity to deal a fatal blow to Bailey Hongzhuang. Ever since she knew Bailey Hongzhuang, she knew that she was eloquent and could even make a dead person come back alive. If she allowed Bailey Hongzhuang to continue speaking like this, she was afraid that even if she failed, when she got off the stage, it would not be a big deal in everyone's eyes. She could not let such a thing happen. Tong Yunshu took the opportunity to say, "Miss Bailey, go ahead and give it a try. You only need to circulate the light energy in your body." Lu Hongwei smiled as he introduced, "The Holy Maiden crystal will absorb your energy. The real Holy Maiden of Light will be able to light up the Holy Maiden crystal. If it was anyone else, it would not be possible." Lu Hongwei reminded, this was also to let Bailey Hongzhuang understand that it was impossible for her to light up the Holy Maiden crystal. However, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly said, "President Lu, if I light up this Holy Maiden crystal, what will happen?" When these words came out, everyone was dumbfounded. What kind of joke was this? Didn't you go up to feel the Holy Maiden crystal? Did you really think that you could light it up? This Bailey Hongzhuang really does not use her brain when she speaks. Just think about it and you know that it is impossible for her to light it up. That's right, isn't she just making things difficult for herself? It will be hard for her to get off the stage later. The cultivators of the 100 Lane clan lowered their heads to the ground under everyone's gaze. "Patriarch, you have to think about us when you speak. You may be able to withstand such gazes, but we really can't." At this moment, the D family and the Lin family were also receiving everyone's mocking gazes. However, Diu Jue and the others looked calm, as if they didn't care about this at all. Lu Hongwei and the others did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly ask such a question. For a moment, they did not know how to answer. They had never imagined such an outcome. Xiao Sou saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was still so arrogant at this time, and the resentment in her eyes grew stronger. "Miss Bailey, the president has already said that only the Holy Maiden crystal can light up." Xiao Sou deliberately emphasized the word "only." "Of course, if you can think it over, then I'll give you my position as the Holy Maiden of Light." "Okay," Bailey Hongzhuang replied. "What? Okay?" Xiao Sou almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "Did you not understand what I meant?" Without waiting for Xiao Sou to continue speaking, the elemental energy in Bailey Hongzhuang's body surged and flowed towards the Holy Maiden crystal. Everyone's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and the Holy Maiden crystal. Even though they had already expected this outcome, they could not help but be curious. After all, there would always be suspense until the end. Xiao Sou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang mockingly. It was impossible for the Holy Maiden crystal to light up. She was waiting to see how Bailey Hongzhuang would deal with this situation. Chapter 5386. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the Holy Maiden crystal. Everyone wanted to know if the Holy Maiden crystal would react. By the time Bailey Hongzhuang retracted her hands, the Holy Maiden crystal had already calmed down and did not react at all. Seeing this scene, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows wrinkled slightly. Could it be that the position of the Holy Maiden of Light really belonged to Xiao Seiwu? Even if she was more talented than Xiao Sou and had a purer elemental energy, she still couldn't snatch this position away? It's indeed a failure. The Holy Maiden of Light has searched for so many years and finally found Xiao Sou. Naturally, there can't be a mistake. Otherwise, wouldn't it become a joke? Bailey Hongzhuang is really in a difficult position now. She might really think that she can light up the Holy Maiden crystal, huh? Mocking laughter rang out unabashedly. The entire square immediately erupted into a heated discussion. This was the most interesting scene they had seen today. Di Beichen's eyes darkened when he saw this. His handsome brows were tightly knitted together. He could not help but feel his heart ache as he looked at the thin figure on the high platform. Then, Di Beichen stood up and walked towards the high platform. Seeing Di Beichen's actions, everyone present was stunned. They immediately understood how protective Di Beichen was of his wife. If it was an ordinary person, his wife would have caused him and his entire family to lose face. At this point in time, he would probably not be willing to pay any attention to her. However, Bewitching did not take this to heart. He only had Bailey Hongzhuang in his heart. Although many people felt that Bewitching's blind love for his wife was a little foolish, almost all the women were extremely envious of Bailey Hongzhuang. So what if she had lost face? At least, her husband had always doted on her. If it was any other man, how many of them could do the same? Du Jue, you've really played to the gallery this time. You've made such a big joke. Jun Hongqing knew that after seeing this result, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. There was a hint of mockery between his brows. Don't tell me you think that your daughter-in-law can become the holy maiden just because she's of the light attribute? He knew very well how important that inheritance was to the D family. It was precisely because of this that he was so worried when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's actions today. Fortunately, that situation did not happen and it was impossible for it to happen. Hearing this, Du Jue looked indifferently at Jun Hongqing. If we hadn't taken the initiative, we would have given it to you. Since he felt that he had picked up a big bargain, then he should keep a low profile. He couldn't possibly go around announcing that he had picked up a bargain, right? Besides, I don't care at all. Do you think anyone would believe you at a time like this? Jun Hongqing did not care. Even though Du Jue's face did not reveal any clues, Jun Hongqing could still sense the guilt and nervousness hidden in the other party's heart. How many years has it been? How many years have we waited for this day? Finally, we can see the dawn of defeating the D family. Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with excitement. Ever since she had met Bailey Hongzhuang, she had never defeated Bailey Hongzhuang in such a direct manner. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Bailey Hongzhuang had already lost to her. This was an irrefutable fact. Chapter 5387. Back then, everyone had firmly believed that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent in the light attribute was stronger than hers. Even though she was the next saint of the Light Clan, she had felt that it was a form of mockery. But now, everyone understood that the gap between their light attribute was incomparable. No one would compare them in this aspect anymore. In the future, Bailey Hongzhuang would have to take a detour whenever she sees her. Miss Bailey, it looks like your wishful thinking has gone wrong. You're unable to light up the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal so naturally, I can't give you the position of the Saint of the Light Clan. Xiao Sou's face was filled with a joyous smile, but her eyes were filled with disgust and satisfaction. Every dog has its day, Bailey Hongzhuang also has her day. However, just as Xiao Sou had spoken, everyone's eyes were suddenly attracted to the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal. Look, the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal seems to be changing. Once she said this, everyone turned to look at the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal. They saw that the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal, which had been calm all this time, suddenly emitted layers of light and a bright light quietly appeared. This light gradually expanded and became increasingly resplendent. When Bewitching walked up to the high platform, he noticed that the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal had suddenly shone brightly. His tightly pursed lips suddenly rose and his incomparably handsome face became even more bewitching. Tong Yunshu's worried heart had not been able to relax for a moment when she sensed the change in the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal. When she raised her head, her expression instantly froze. Xiao Sou was standing in front of the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal. Just a second ago, she had been immensely pleased with herself as she taunted Bailey Hongzhuang. However, in the next second, she noticed everyone's shocked gazes and could not help but stiffly turn around. When she saw the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal emitting a blazing light, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. She stood dazedly on the spot, her face filled with disbelief. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang has really lit up the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal? Wasn't it said that only the Saint of the Light Clan's crystal could light it up? Bailey Hongzhuang lit it up right away. Doesn't that mean that Bailey Hongzhuang can also become the Saint of Light? Earlier, many people said that Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was better than Xiao Sou's. Now, it seems that it was all true. Today's situation has become interesting. I wonder who will be the Saint of Light's successor? The sudden turn of events was beyond everyone's expectations. Everyone from the Holy Assembly stared at this scene in a daze. They were shocked and exclaimed. Lu Hongwei's heart was already in turmoil. All these years, in order to let Xiao Souo light up the Holy Maiden crystal, they had thought of all kinds of methods. It wasn't until a few days ago that Xiao Souo was able to light up the Saintess crystal, but it was only slightly brighter. Compared to the light emitted by the Saintess crystal, it was just a drop in the ocean. The Saintess crystal's transformation did not stop there. After it had emitted a resplendent light, the light gradually changed and began to emit a rainbow light. Under the sunlight, the dazzling rainbow light was like the most precious treasure in the world, making it hard for people to take their eyes off it. This is... Lu Hongwei's hands trembled slightly, expressing the excitement in his heart. This should be the true appearance of the Saintess crystal after it has been lit up. Chapter 5388. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into an enchanting and confident smile. Her judgment was right, she could light up the Holy Maiden crystal. Her master was the Holy Maiden of Light. As a disciple, how could she face her master if she was inferior to others? Shi Hongqiao, who was at the back, did not know what to say. When Bailey Hongzhuang had announced that she could light up the Holy Maiden crystal, although he had expressed his belief, he still had some doubts in his heart. This was because as a member of the Holy Assembly, he knew all too well how difficult it was to light up the Holy Maiden crystal. Even though Xiao Souo had worked hard for so many years, she had only managed to light it up a little. Therefore, he could not help but be suspicious. But after witnessing the radiance emanating from the Saintess crystal, she realized that she had underestimated the situation. Bailey Hongzhuang was the real Holy Maiden of Light. Her talent in the light attribute was simply heaven-defying. The deacon of the Holy Assembly, who had been persuaded by Shi Hongqiao to help Bailey Hongzhuang, was also stunned. He had initially wanted to help Shi Hongqiao because he could not bear to see the Xiao family occupying the absolute position in the Holy Assembly. Once Xiao Souo became the Holy Maiden of Light, their position would be greatly threatened. However, he was surprised to find that he had made the right bet this time. Although the result had not been confirmed, even an idiot would know that Bailey Hongzhuang was the real Holy Maiden of Light. Previously, when Xiao Souo had lit up the Holy Maiden crystal, he had also noticed. How could the light of a firefly dare to compete with the brilliance of the sun and the moon? The difference between the two was not small at all. No matter how powerful the Xiao family was, they could not cover the sky with one hand. Furthermore, the Di family's power did not lose to the Xiao family at all. In an instant, the atmosphere had become exceptionally strange. Previously, the Holy Assembly had made it very clear that only the Holy Maiden of Light could light up the Holy Maiden crystal. No one else could light it up. However, only Bailey Hongzhuang had walked up to the high platform and had easily lit up the Holy Maiden crystal. This was awkward. Was it because anyone could light up the Saintess crystal? Or was Xiao Souo not the real Saintess of the Light? If Xiao Souo wasn't the Saintess of Light, wouldn't that be a huge mistake? No matter how one looked at it, this was not something that could be resolved in a short period of time. Xiao Souo stared at the scene in a daze. She couldn't believe that all of this was real. She couldn't understand why the Saintess crystal had undergone such a huge change after Bailey Hongzhuang had injected her power into it. This was completely different from what the president had told her. Her face gradually turned pale, and her hands and feet began to turn cold. An uncontrollable thought lingered in her mind. This was the moment where she was the center of attention. Now, all the limelight had been stolen by Bailey Hongzhuang. She was more worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would take away her position as the Saint of Light. Once Bailey Hongzhuang becomes the Saintess of Light, what would she do in the future? Recalling what Bailey Hongzhuang had said earlier, she felt that Bailey Hongzhuang had premeditated all of this. Bailey Hongzhuang had already known that this would happen and had purposely come here to slap her in the face. Xiao Souo stared venomously at Bailey Hongzhuang. A bone-deep hatred burned in her heart, almost burning away her rationality and driving her crazy. Chapter 5389. In the face of Xiao Sou's curses, Bailey Hongzhuang remained extremely calm. Her delicate, jade-like face curled into a faint smile. Her already unparalleled features were now even more enchanting and bewitching. Xiao Sou, none of this belongs to you. You've been hogging this title for so many years. That's enough. Bailey Hongzhuang calmly replied. You. Xiao Sou stared at Bailey Hongzhuang. She was about to explode from anger. This damned woman, how dare she treat me like this? Below the high platform, the atmosphere was just as lively. If Bai Li Fan and the others had previously been particularly worried about Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, their hearts were now completely at ease after witnessing this scene. Patriarch, you're really amazing when you don't make a sound. What's going on? Is the Master going to become the Saint of Light? I think so. Isn't it said that whoever can light up the Saint's crystal will become the Saint of Light? If the Master of Light really becomes the Saint of Light, our status in the Master of Light will be greatly elevated. The disciples' faces lit up with joy. No one had ever thought that such a good thing would happen. Becoming the Saint of Light would mean that she would have an inseparable connection with the Holy Assembly of Light. Their Master of Light would have an incomparably powerful backer aside from the D family. This way, even if they were a small Master of Light, no one would dare to plot against them. Over the years, due to their Master of Light's gradual decline, they had been surviving in the cracks. Only they knew how anxious and aggrieved they had been. Now, all of this had a chance to change. Once they thought of that situation, they could not hide the excitement in their hearts. Junhong Cheng, it seems that you've been too complacent just now. Diyu Jue's lips curled into a small smile as he stared mockingly at Junhong Cheng. Actually, he was extremely shocked as well. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had previously said that she would do this, he was still a little worried because the possibility of success was simply too small. However, he did not expect that all of this would actually succeed. The light emitted by the Saintess crystal was extremely bright. Even though he didn't know what Xiao Sou looked like when she lit up the Saintess crystal, he could roughly tell from President Lu's expression that Xiao Sou probably couldn't reach that level. Thinking of this, he was already confident of victory. As the head of an aristocratic family, he still had this bit of foresight. Even if the relationship between the Xiao family and the Holy Assembly of Light was complicated and not easily shaken, the position of the Holy Maiden of Light was not something that could be achieved through power alone. Hearing Diyu Jue's words, Junhong Cheng's face was as gloomy as water. His heart had already turned cold when he heard this change. Now that he heard this ridicule, he only felt extremely embarrassed. After all, he was still mocking Diyu Jue a second ago, and in the next second, he was slapped in the face. This change was too fast. Diyu Jue, don't be too complacent. Everything hasn't been decided yet. Junhong Cheng still had some confidence in his heart. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang could light up the Saintess crystal, it would only be a draw at the moment. Speaking of which, the scales of victory were still leaning towards their side. In contrast to Junhong Cheng's self-consolation, Jun Lingxuan's heart had already sunk to the bottom. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.